Good evening, everybody. Welcome back. Episode number 22 of the No Punches Pulled podcast. We had a hiatus last week, but we got plenty of action to make up for it this week. Jay, Liam is on his way very shortly. 3 big cards this week, Jay. 1 on Friday, 2 on Saturday. We'll get straight into them. Lots of talking points as well. I didn't realize after having a week off how quick the boxing world moves. You know, you have 1 week off and there's about 6 million different topics
crammed it all in, haven't they?
To talk about. Exactly, mate. Yeah, but first off, mate, how's things? All good?
Good, man. Yeah, busy. Lots of announcements, lots of fights upcoming. So yeah, I'm like a pig in proverbial mess, mate. You know
I love it.
like.
Yeah, it feels
fights, man.
That's it. It feels like the year's kicked off this week, doesn't it? Especially with what we've got this weekend. You know, they're not the biggest cards of all time. Even the Inoue one doesn't feel massive, to be fair. You know, the opponent dropping out probably hasn't helped. But Dalton's fighting for the European, and then you've got Pacheco and Nelson in a battle of the undefeateds. Evening, Pat. Hope you're well, my friend. Thanks for tuning in, as always.
Us, man.
Loving the Croncat as well, Jay. Absolutely quality.
I've got another one coming. It was supposed to be here by now. I've got a yellow and red. You know, their traditional... yellow and red.
Tell me you're a boxing fan without telling me you're a boxing fan.
Well, listen, I'm not just boxing.
Oh, yeah.
Not just
you're not cheating on the UFC just yet.
Never. I'll never cheat on MMA. I've got a PFL t-shirt upstairs as well. If anybody wants that. I'm not just all about the big brands. But no, I like these. I like the blue. I got like it's not a hoodie. I got like a zip up as well. Details nice on them. They're not just licensed out. They're decent quality as well. Some nice detail on them. So yeah, showing their brand. Hoping we'll get a sponsorship on the No Punches Pulled podcast by said Cronk Gym. You know where we are.
That would Yeah, you know where to find us. Evening, David Ropedo. Thank you very much for the kind words, my friend. If anyone hasn't subscribed or check them out on the other platforms that they go on, Dave and Dave do a great podcast over at Ropedo Boxing. Very knowledgeable guys and really good to talk to as well. So thanks for that, mate. Hope you're doing well.
I think I've got something coming out with those guys in next week or so. I think
that'll be good. That'll be well worth a listen. I'll be on that one. And went on myself, man. Actually. Really enjoyed the chat.
Yeah, I did it last week, so I think David said it would be out at some point this week. I took some shorts as well. So, but I really enjoyed it. It was different. It was nice to talk about my journey in boxing and such. Not that I'm a boxer. I have boxed when I was an amateur, but just how I got into boxing and stuff. It was nice to sort of reminisce and talk about some old school stuff, being an old head. So no, if you're not a follower and you haven't listened to the Rope-A-Dope Boxing podcast, then get involved. As Sam said, very knowledgeable guys. So yeah, great content they put out there.
100%. Good stuff, mate. Right, well, wait for Liam, mate. Let's get into... We'll start with Dalton Smith, actually, because Inoue and Pacheco, we'll cover them after. Decent card in Nottingham, to be fair. Dalton Smith's been gunning for this European title for a while, hasn't it? It's almost like feels like an itch on his back or something, like he can't get his head straight without fighting for it. He's meant to fight John Fernandez for it, wasn't he? I think that fight was off and on twice, if I remember correctly. But look, it's Walid Ouizza. I think that's how you pronounce his name anyway, the Frenchman. He's 19-2. Not a massive punch rate, wins by knockout. We gave our predictions for it last night, so I guess we'll more talk about this plus the main undercard fights as well heading into it. So before we go to Dalton, let's talk about, you've got the chief support. Will probably wait for Liam, because that for me could be the fight of the night, that Conor Walker and Harry Scarf. I think that could steal the show.
Love that fight.
Yeah, definitely, it's a great fight. And then Ellie Scottney, then she's facing Mia Motu, and she in that one. I actually think that could be a decent enough fight.
I mean, they're both world champions, aren't they? And I don't know if Motu's IBO's up, but I know the boxing.
I think it is.
I think the boxing for 4. I think there's a Ring magazine on it as well. You know, Motu's traveling over from New Zealand, but she's 20-0. You know, to be 20-0 in any sport, you know, to have 20, you know, to compete 20 times at a high level, or any level of any sport, to be unbeaten. So, you know, I've just done a short preview over on Jay's Fight Talk, and I've actually without dismissing Motu after I've just bigged her up for being 20-0, I just think that Ellie Scotney's special, and I just believe that whether Motu's good or not, I think Ellie Scotney beats a majority of girls at Super Bantam and potentially the division above. I just think the fact that she's had less than half as many fights, I don't think is going to play a part. I think Ellie Scotney's, I'm not going to say generational talent, but I think she's got something special, and I think this potentially could be sort of a coming out party for her. I think she's going to put on she's certainly going to look to steal the show. Unfortunately, it's 2-minute rounds and stuff like that, but I think me and Pat have just had a brief discussion off camera.
I'm with you as well. I listened to your video and I saw Pat's comment as well. I'm completely with you. Look, at the end of the day, Liam's here. Evening, Liam. Ellie can't. Ellie's not a puncher. I don't think she's even had a stoppage. But look what we said about Lauren Price. Let's be fair. But I do think that Motu's a better opponent than Bexy Mateus was the other week. So, look, I think it'll be straightforward enough, to be fair. I know we gave our predictions on it last night. But, look, should be a decent enough fight. She's not a rollover, I don't believe.
No, she's a world champion. I know we like to take the piss out of the IBO. But ultimately, if we won it, I'd be wearing it in nightclubs, and I'd have it on my shoulder, and I'd have it at Misfits, and I'd have it at work, and I'd have it, she's a world champion in her own right, and I don't believe she's going to travel halfway across the world to roll over. I think Ellie Scotney's in a fight, but I just think that she's a couple of levels above this. Motu, I just believe that she'll go through gears similar to when, a bit strange to use this analogy, but when Merab and Umar fought in MMA and the UFC at the weekend, it was fairly nip and tuck. And then we got to championship rounds. Merab had a couple more gears and he went through him, and Umar just couldn't stay with him. I think we might see something similar here. I think we might be fairly close for 3, 4, 5 rounds, and then Ellie will start to go through the gears. And I just don't think Motu will have the wherewithal to stay with her, and I think Ellie Scotney will pull away, and similar there. I think we'll have a unanimous points decision, 8-2, 6-4, something like that.
We got Lloyd Hernandez in the house. Big up, Lloyd. Going for the Motu KO. I think that's more of a rhetorical question for our good watcher, Lloyd. Hope you're well, my friend.
He's trying to be me. He's trying to be Jay's Fight Talk.
Yeah, Jay's Fight Talk in disguise. It's Jay's burner. Look, it'll be a decent fight. I wanted to wait. I just said, Liam, if you caught the first part, I wanted to wait for you to come on before we discuss the next one, because I do think it'll be fight of the night. I think it's going to be an absolutely cracker. Harry Scarf and Conor Walker for the British and Commonwealth welterweight. I think this is going to steal the show, personally.
Yeah, mate, it's a cracking fight, isn't it? I mean, I've just filmed the first Liam's Fight Night Picks of the year, which will be out tomorrow, and both me and my guest Darren agreed that this fight has the potential to be not just fight of the night in Nottingham, but fight of the weekend, full stop. Harry Scarf picked up these belts against Echo Esserman in 2023, and then went and fought Karim Chimaev, didn't he, last year, and only lost 8 rounds to 4 on the scorecard. So in defeat, he still gave a good account of himself. It's just, is he able to then bring himself back down to British level? And you never see a bad British and Commonwealth title fight. We say it all the time, but we genuinely mean it, because between the 3 of us, we can probably only pick 3 or 4 that have never lived up to their.
You ever watched Lawrence Okola?
I
think that was a Commonwealth. Sorry.
Yeah, Matty was British, mate.
Matty Askin was
British.
Yeah, it was awful. I was ringside. It was painful to watch.
Do you know what? I was about to say this, and then Lloyd said Walker UD. Dave just took the words out of my mouth. I was literally about to say Conor Walker doesn't really be involved in bad fights. Does these fights with Crocker were immense last year?
Look at Walker last year. Lewis Crocker is arguably one of the domestic top 3 fights of 2024, and him and Lewis Ritson went toe to toe, especially in the middle of that fight. That was a good back and forth between the 2 of them in November in Birmingham. So, it's interesting. Conor Walker's record, he's only got 5 stoppages out of his wins, but he's got a style that sort of makes you think he gets a stoppage every other fight. It just doesn't pan out like that.
Look, they both fight in a very, the advantages, or what they both prefer to do is the mirror images of each other. They both like to. I mean, Harry Scarf's nickname is Horrible because he's horrible to fight. He likes to clinch. He likes to stay in the pocket, plant his feet. Walker's going to do that. These two, you could put them, and I know it's cliche, but they could fight in a phone box, or you could put a car tire in the middle of the ring and make them put a foot in each and not take that foot out and just stay there. Neither of them's going to take a backward step. If you look at, I think they've got very similar records. I think they both lost 3 times. The guys that they've lost to, we've got Chikatsian, right? We saw him push Jaron Ennis not very close, but give him a dogfight, right? Jaron Ennis had to fight to win that. Anthony Fowler, who we know is an elite amateur, went to the Olympics. I think he won British and a few international titles as a pro, boxed at a very high level. And Troy Williamson, who has only lost himself at the highest level and was the super welterweight, light middleweight champion, British champion after beating Ted Cheeseman. I think Conor Walker has lost to Lewis Crocker, Antwi, and who's the other one? I've got it written down here somewhere. Kane Gardner. So the 3 losses that they've both got are of a decent level. I think this, as you guys have said, I think this could steal the weekend in terms of just an all-out war. I think we're going to see a 12-rounder, but I think it's going to be blood, guts, and thunder, to quote my my favourite lunatic, John Fury. I think we're in for an all-out war from these two guys.
Yeah, mate, it can't not be a war. Cue us now having a really drab 12-rounder to sit through, but no, in reality, it can't be anything but a war. Both men only know to go forward gear. Both of them struggle to go backwards. My one thing I will say about Conor Walker is Harry Scarf, this is his 5th or 6th 12-rounder. Conor Walker's never been in a 12-rounder. So if it's a tough, grueling fight and it comes down to those championship rounds, Harry Scarf may just have that little bit extra gear to pull away. Similar to what you just made the comparison with Merab and Umar in the UFC last weekend. Merab pulled away in the championship rounds. I think that may be where Harry Scarf pulls away.
I think Harry will know how his tank is at 12 rounds. He'll know how to when not to exert energy. It's not necessarily about being able to do the 12 rounds. It's being able to do them properly. You've got to conserve energy, haven't you, and fight in bursts, knowing that you've potentially got 12 rounds. Walker might, I'm not saying he will, but he could, think he's got Scarf hurt, exert a load of energy, and we only be in round 4. We've seen that before, haven't we, where fighters have gone all out in round 2, and then by round 6, they're blowing out their ass, and they've got another 6 rounds left. So Scarf's got the experience and knows that he can do the 12 rounds at a certain level. Excuse me. I believe Walker can do the 12, but whether he can do them as good as Scarf can, I think, like you said, Liam, that might be the difference, where Scarf can go up through the gears in the championship rounds. It's whether Walker's got the ability to do that boxing, because it's going to be at a fast pace. I believe it's going to be straight out the blocks.
Yeah, they're going to sit on each other's chest without question for me. I don't even think, I think Liam's right. I don't think it's debatable whether it'll be the fight of the night in Nottingham. I think it could be the fight of the weekend, 100%. Definitely in there, isn't it? It'll be up there.
Pat's got Walker winning a split decision in a close fight. Yeah, I think it's going to be close for sure. Lloyd's now come back with the Scotney by unanimous decision. That sounds a little bit more like it from you, Lloyd.
Yeah,
Go on,
in this fight, I'm leaning towards Scarf holding onto his belts just for that reason me and Jay have both just given. I think he knows how to negate a 12-round fight better. The only concern is he obviously hasn't fought since last May, which was his loss against Karen. So Walker being a fresher fighter, having 2 really good competitive fights last year, maybe that plays into his hands. But Harry Scarf to here and still British and Commonwealth champion. That's where I think this fight's going on Saturday.
I mean, I can't disagree. He follows me on social media, so we're practically family. So I can't go against.
You can't go against him now, mate.
My family, but no, I picked him anyway. I just think he's just a little bit more seasoned. I know they've had around about the same amount of fights, and they've both been in decent fights. But as we've just said, Scarf's been in more title fights or 12-rounders, and I just think his experience at that level is gonna come to the forefront, and I see him sort of winning a unanimous decision, but a close, 1-1-5, 1-1-3, something like that. At best 1-1-6, 1-1-2, but I think it's going to be tight. But I just think he'll have, as Liam said, that little bit extra down the stretch.
And
he will.
Not too sure, Lloyd, to be fair, because the 3 of us are edging towards Scarf for that Conor Walker fight. But look,
Conor Walker has every single chance. Dalton Smith, we'll go into that now. That's a good segue.
Quickly, let's not forget with Conor Walker, when he fought Lewis Crocker, if he didn't get that point deducted in the 9th round, he would have had a draw in the fight with how the judges' scorecards played out. It was that point deduction for holding, I think,
that was the difference.
In the 9th round. That was the difference in the end. So if he can make it a similar fight like that against Scarf and avoid the points deduction, then it could easily be him that wins a close fight, like we're saying. It is genuinely a 50-50 fight, and we're not just saying that. It really is. You can see both men winning this fight.
I think it's the only 50-50 fight on that card for me, and I don't mean that like it's sort of 80-20s, but I can see more clearer winners. This is the one where, I'm going on what I think I know about fights, but the rest of the fights on paper, you can pretty much say who's going to win with certainty. Whereas with this fight, it could actually be a coin flip. I know we could get a knockout and random shit happens in the other fights, but you're pretty much guaranteed, wins.
They're A-side favoured.
Exactly. There's red corner, blue corner, isn't there? And this one is one of the, 50-50 fights of the weekend. I'm really excited for it.
Main event then, boys. Dalton Smith finally getting his go at this European Super Lightweight Championship. WBC silver on the line as well. Don't know a lot about his opponent, Walid Ouizza. 19-2 coming in. Just the 8 by knockout. Never been stopped. Dalton coming off, obviously, we discussed last night, that really wicked body shot over Jose Zepeda. Looked great last time out. The stars are aligning for a summer showdown with Adam Azim. It's probably fair to say, but Matchroom have got a good stronghold of those belts at 140 pound, and as we know, European champions tend to move on to world level after that. So, providing Dalton gets through on Saturday, he's going to be in a really good position. How do we, view the fight, view the matchup? I'm a big fan of Dalton Smith. To be fair, I do like his style.
Go on, Liam.
Sorry, mate. I'm a big Dalton Smith fan, as I sort of said last night. And after the Jose Cepeda sickening body shot stoppage last March, everything was set for the Adam Azim showdown. And then when Adam Azim was injured, he was scheduled to fight for this European strap twice against a different opponent, had to pull out through his own ankle injury. So it's been a long layoff for him. So there's going to be some frustrations there on Dalton's side. He said it himself, hasn't he? If anyone's had a look at the pre-fight promo stuff from Matchroom, he said he's frustrated that he's been out for so long. He was keen to build on the momentum. He hopes it's still there. But his comments, like I mentioned yesterday, that he's still not sure about his ankle and he's had to modify training, it's nagged me in the back of my mind all day. And I favoured Dalton via stoppage yesterday. But on my show just now, I said I still favoured Dalton to win, but I think it's more likely to be on points. Because if he can't sit down on his punches, he's going to have to box rather than fight and look to take out his opponent. And that's a big difference. If he's not sitting down on his punches and able to land concussive blows, then it's going to be more of a boxing performance, which there's nothing wrong with because we know Dalton Smith can do that. However, his last 2 performances, which was the Sam Maxwell knockout with the left hand and then this body shot against Cepeda, is sort of going against the grain. But what should be a fairly comfortable night for Dalton Smith, I think fair to say, is tempered by wondering if his ankle's not 100%, is he going to be able to perform?
Yeah, I think I said something similar, didn't I, when we did our sort of prediction videos? I think the fact that he's made a point of coming out, I think I'd said it was fight week, but it wasn't. It was a couple of weeks ago, I think you said, didn't you, Liam, that he'd said his ankle really isn't right. And we'd said that fighters and athletes in general are never 100%. They've always got niggles. They put the body under unimaginable stresses and strains. But for him to highlight it is not worrying, but is an issue for me. And I think I'd said that I could see him, if he's not able to sit down on his punches and use his power and boxing, I think it could be a difficult, awkward night for him. And I think I said split. I think I said split decision, didn't I? I think he's going to struggle just because he hasn't got that equalizer. And I think that, and if his mobility is hampered in any way as well, it's going to affect him defensively, getting out of range, getting into range, looking for angles, pivoting off. If he can't pivot off, Dalton's got that ability to sort of, pivot really quick, but then come straight back in. If he can't turn on his ankle and pivot, and it takes out half his game, his movement, You know, if his movements and mobility is restricted, I see it being not a tough, awkward's probably the better word than tough. An awkward night. I am backing him to win, but I just don't think it'll be as easy as what we think it would be on paper if we had a Dalton Smith that had all his attributes together and didn't have the issue with his ankle. I think the issue with his ankle is going to cause him a problem, and I think that's going to make it a harder fight or a harder night's work than it ordinarily would be.
Yeah. DJ Pat said Dalton between 5 and 7 with a body shot. It's interesting because he hasn't been stopped, the Frenchman, but who has he really fought? It's another one of those type of ones. But just hoping that Dalton does get through because I'm desperate to see the Adam Azim fight. Hopefully, the noise out of box is positive on that. That I know Azim's fighting on the Eubank Ben card should he get through Lipinets, but. Hopefully we see that. Boys, let's move over to Inoue then. We'll do Inoue next. Not too much to report on the card, to be fair. Inoue's fighting Joon Kim now after Goodman's out for the third time, I believe. Second since Christmas Eve. Nasty cut again. Hopefully he does get his shot. He's a decent fighter, Sam Goodman, but in steps the South Korean Joon Kim, 21-2, 13 knockouts, 2 draws on the record as well. Nothing really to suggest that he's going to cause Inoue any problems. I'd like to see Inoue just go through the gears and get rid of him nice and quickly. But as you said yesterday, Jay, in his more recent performances, he's kind of, breaking them down rather than, he was icing people in a few rounds a few years ago. But he's kind of adapted his style a little bit as he's got a little bit older. But as you said as well, Liam, last night, always just a positive to see him out. His activity is absolutely unbelievable for an undisputed world champion. He fights 2, 3, even 4 times a year, sometimes depending on the schedule. Any chance for Joon Kim at all, boys, or are we just looking forward to Inoue out?
I'm picking him to chin Inoue. It's going to leave him face down, ass up. Bosh! Absolutely none. Absolutely none. He's going to get his ass handed to him in 3 or 4 rounds. I knew he'll toy with him for a couple and he'll just batter him. Sorry, mate.
That's it, Dave. That's his nickname. Unbelievable.
I don't like saying it. I'm from Bradford, so I might get done in. But I think
Pack money. Let's go with that.
Yeah, Mac money or whatever he's got. Look, he's been brought in as they all are pretty much cannon fodder, and I think that.
We've gone, look, we just need someone to fight Inoue. Anyone will do.
Anyone. Anyone. I think Inoue is the only one I haven't called out, and I won't be calling him out.
I wouldn't fancy that smoke. I'd rather fight AJ.
Telling you. Similar to Pat, under 4 rounds. Sorry, Liam.
Sorry, man. I was going to say, Naoya Inoue is kind of, again, we've already made a UFC reference tonight. He's kind of like the red panty night when you get offered to fight him, like Conor McGregor used to say about himself, in the sense of if you get offered the opportunity to fight Inoue, you take it because it's an opportunity that isn't going to come around very often. He doesn't stay at weight divisions very long. He also has such commercial appeal in Japan. Yes, Bob Arum, he is popular in Japan. He doesn't need to come to America. He can do it all in Japan. That you don't say no to the fight. And Kim is overmatched, underskilled. He's everything that you don't want to be going in there against Naoya Inoue. And Inoue played with his food a bit too much for my liking last year. He was dropped by Neary. He struggled to get to grips with Dehenny early on in the fight me and you done in September, Jay. I think he's going to come out and blow him away inside 3 minutes. He's going to get back to that old spiteful monster that we saw during the World Boxing Super Series and things like that. He's going to come out, make a statement, and then say, Jack, Liev, Picasso, all of that, come and get me. You come over to me and fight me. He knows what he needs to do, and it'll be inside 3 minutes. It'll be wham bam, thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, well, I'd like to see that as well, Liam. I think you mentioned Picasso. That seems to be the noise that he's going to be fighting him in America if he gets through on Friday lunchtime, which, let's be fair, he's going to. I've watched his last fight. Picasso, he's on that Mayweather exhibition card in Mexico. I don't think he's got anything to trouble Inoue. I've said it, I've campaigned for it how many times. The only fight I want to see Inoue in is MJ Agbadaliev. That's the only fight I'm interested in at Super Bantam. If not, I'd like to see him move up to to featherweight. Look, Figueroa and Fulton are rematching on the Benavidez card next week for the WBC featherweight championship. Ray Vargas is champion in recess now. He hasn't fought since the Nick Ball fight, so there's a fight. He's already battered Stephen Fulton, hasn't he? Anyway, although I do think Figueroa beats Fulton next week, to be fair.
I think he beats him I think it's pretty straightforward night for him, to be honest. I don't see, no disrespect to Fulton, but I think
Fulton doesn't look good, as he beat Figueroa the first time, but last time out on that Canelo card, he looked dreadful, didn't he?
He didn't look good at all in his last fight.
He was dropped and he laid, didn't he? I've just looked at the odds for that, Dave. So he's Joon Kim is 12-1 by stoppage and 33-1 by decision, which is a lot closer than actually I thought that would be.
100-1 first round knockout. Bosh.
Oh dear. Yeah, zero chance. I just can't even see.
You actually are bang on 100-1 first round for Kim.
They usually are. It drops to about 60.
You could add another 0 onto that one, and it still would be too low.
Yeah, look at it this way. If you have a 5 in it, you want to lump on Kim to win by a stoppage, do it. Especially if you're going to pick a specific round, because you could be having a very good weekend to start your year, Dave. But yeah, look, as I said yesterday,
save your fiver.
In no way I would watch fight in my back garden against anyone, if that makes sense. So the fact that we're seeing him fight is exciting enough for me, but that's also because with Inoue, he gives you one substantive opponent and then it's always something good afterwards. So there's that excitement there as well, because we know we won't get another opponent at this level next time. He's going to bounce into Picasso, maybe even Akhmadaliev if they can't make that fight. There's going to be something big to follow it, which is what we want to see as fans, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. Look, it's not his fault that Goodman was he's mandatory and undefeated. So yeah, it's not an Inoue issue.
What's happening with Nakatani and his brother?
Nakatani's off now. It's apparently they're not looking to pursue that fight anymore, which is baffling. I don't know if
that's mental. That could be the biggest. That could be one of the biggest fights certainly over there.
Huge. His brother lost, didn't he? So
he did. I think his brother was. We did the live, didn't we? It was meant to be his brother against him next, and his brother lost. And then, as you say, that they're not interested in making the Inoue fight, which I think is madness. I think, that'd be a massive fight. What's that? Is it the Saitama Arena?
Yeah, or like
the Super
Tokyo Dome or Tokyo Dome.
Yeah.
That's the one you want to see. But look, I mean, Junto Nakatani's fighting on Monday, the 24th of Feb, so just after we get that massive Saudi card. So their schedules are aligning in terms of when they're both fighting. So, yeah, it's an interesting one. I think if we are going to get an all-Japanese super fight, that's the one we're most likely to see.
Oh, 1,000,000%. It is.
Bob seems to think he needs to come over and crack Vegas because it's still the 80s and we've all forgotten, but that's what he's got to do.
I think Inoue will do business with Saudi fairly soon as well. We'll come into that.
He's got his $15 million sponsorship.
Exactly. I don't think that'll be too far away. He may as well cash in. Ryan Hong's in the house. Hope you're well, Ryan. The three of us are leaning towards Harry Scarf in a close one, but it's a 50-50 for me. But yeah, we've just said, just a slight edge we're giving to Harry Scarf. We're unanimous in that, which is quite rare. We normally have different opinions. Let's quickly cover then Diego Pacheco's card before we get into a long list that I've got here in the world of boxing. So undefeated fighters then. Dan Evans in the house as well. Hope you're well, my friend Dan. Big up. Conor Walker, he fancies on.
Look, just a quick one before we move off that fight, because we've all got different opinions and we think it'd be close. I reckon a draw could be, not that far from
you're right.
coming, because it's one of them fights where it's 50-50. So I think I'd save your $5 on Kim and stick a $5 on Walker versus draw at 16s or 20-1. Bet responsibly, please.
Yeah, whatever it is, do it responsibly. Pacheco, Nelson, and undefeated, both can bang. Pacheco, for me, one of the best prospects in world boxing right now. I absolutely love his style. Last time out against Selecki, being the first to stop him with that brutal body shot. Bit of a body shot fest with Dalton Smith coming up this weekend as well. Two guys who love to work the body. Nelson, his record's interesting, isn't it, boys? To be fair, just putting it politely.
20-2 or something like that, is it?
He's 20-0, I think, isn't he? But he hasn't fought anyone. I'm not saying Pacheco has, but he's a young He's a young guy, isn't he, Pacheco? But the age difference is interesting. Pacheco's had more fights. I think he's about 12 or 13 years his junior, isn't he? But yeah, I guess, do you see anything other than a routine Pacheco win in Vegas this weekend, or is there potential for a shock? Walker's aggression for Ryan as well. A few Walker picks in the chat.
Look, it's on paper it's an evenly matched fight. I just think Pacheco's just better. I just think he's better. I think he's boxed at a higher level. He's big for the weight as well, and he's tall. He's got decent range. Nelson, I mean, you don't really recognise any of the names on his record, if I'm honest. That doesn't mean that they're not good. We don't know every fighter, but we keep abreast of say the top 20 in each division, domestically and abroad, and most of the people within his 22 fights or 20 fights or whatever he's had, I've barely heard of any of them. There's 3 or 4 on there that I've heard of, but are not that good in my uneducated opinion. I just think Pacheco will go through the motions and probably get him out of there mid 6 to 8 rounds. I think he'll find his range after 3 or 4 rounds, and then it'll just be a case of seeing how tough Nelson is and how much he can take before I think he gets overwhelmed and stopped.
So I went all Jay's Fight Talk when I spoke about this fight yesterday, and I'm keeping that same energy. Yes, Nelson is 36. Yes, it's a padded 20-0 record.
There he goes.
But look, fighters just need a chance, don't they? Every fighter in their career gets their crossroads moment where they either make the jump and reach that next level, or they drown. And I'm not saying Steven Nelson's going to win the fight. I believe Diego will come through a really scrappy, really tight points decision. However, I think Nelson is going to...
Sorry.
Sorry. I think
Liverpool just score or something.
They have.
Yeah, we'll get it away. I think... Sorry, get back on my friend. I think Nelson's going to ask the California native some questions, and we haven't seen Diego ask many questions in his fight so far, have we? So we're going to find out what his gut's like. We're going to find out if he really is the heir apparent to Canelo's throne at 168. And whilst I think he'll win the fight, a scrappy points win or maybe a slightly controversial split decision, I'm edging towards that side. There's something in me that says Nelson knows this is his one and only opportunity potentially at the top table. He's not going to want to waste it. He's not going to want to get blown away inside 3 minutes.
Dave's with you there, Liam. He's kind of backing up your theory. Thinks Pacheco might have to get up off the canvas. Pat said mid-rounds for Pacheco body shot similar to last time. Dan's... Sorry, mate.
I was going to say, it's also worth saying that Matchroom's run of their overseas prospects getting stopped by unknown names isn't looking good. Steven Nelson could add his name to that list on Saturday night, taking care of Pacheco, couldn't he?
Yeah, most definitely. Dan is talking about the winner of Sergio and Billy at 100%, mate. Couldn't agree more with you on that one.
In Billy and Pacheco's
it was. Pacheco's actually close to being a Canelo mandatory as well, which I believe he's in the running for the May fight if he gets through Nelson. It'd be him, William Skull, or somebody else. I think will be on Cinco de Mayo.
I don't think Eddie or Diego wants to run into Canelo, if that makes sense. I think they're quite happy treading the water.
Yeah.
Then pounce when Canelo moves on from the scene. They don't want to damage what they're trying to build with him. Yeah,
definitely. Dan's got Pacheco fairly comfortably here. I think Pacheco will stop him, I think, as well, to be fair. Boys, I just looked at the undercard as well. I'm probably going to carry... I know, Liam, you said DAZN are doing the one broadcast. Are they straight through from Nottingham?
Yeah, just one broadcast, 10 hours straight through from when they start in...
Just looking at the undercard, I'll probably, carry on and stay up and watch it. The main event ring walk's scheduled for around 3 a.m., DAZN says, so I think I can manage that. Tito Mercado versus Jose Pedraza is a very good fight. Andy Cruz against Omar Salcido is a very good fight as well. So it's actually a pretty good card for Matchroom America.
Yeah, look, that Matchroom USA card's cracking. It's something different in broadcasting this weekend as well. They're going to have a team on site in Nottingham. They're going to have a team on site in Vegas, obviously at the
Cosmopolitan. So it'll be interesting to see how that broadcast works. But yeah, it's running all the way through. I think Eddie's come out and said today that Dalton Smith main event will be a 10 o'clock start because the first fight is scheduled for Vegas at 11:30 UK time. So Dalton to go by 10. So even if it goes 12 rounds, there's still enough time to mop all of that up before they move over to Vegas. So look, it could be a good thing if with Queensbury moving over this year. They're going to be trying something different there with the broadcasting, aren't they? So if they can nail it between Britain and America, then perhaps doing it with 2 UK cards potentially on the same night or something like that, it is feasible as well for later this year. You know there's going to be some big plans for the Matchroom Queensbury DAZN link up. Just excited to see what comes from it.
Yeah, there's definitely 5v5s coming, isn't there, in May, I think, the next one.
May, and then the one against De La Hoya is scheduled for the second half of the year, isn't it?
Yeah. I know that Danny's fighting on the Eubank Ben card, but I think they'll want to do that as a standalone, won't they? Azim, Dalton Smith. I couldn't see them doing it on an undercard.
Not unless it were on some 5 versus 5 big card.
Yeah.
Ben Eubank.
Like a boxer Matchroom kind of.
Yeah.
We'll have to headline that though.
Like that.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It would only be part. If it's not a main card, if it's not a main event, it would have to be part of a massive card. That's what I meant. That will not be an undercard fight. Absolutely not. I don't think either of the promoters want that. Unless it's part of a 5 versus 5 or promoter versus promoter, it ain't going under Ben Eubank Jr. Absolutely.
Yeah, I couldn't see that. I find it surprising that Azim's on that card, to be fair, or it's rumoured to be on that card.
The interesting thing is all the fights that are rumoured for Eubank Ben, the only one where it's just a name with no opponent rumoured is Adam Azim, which makes you think out of all the fights, that's possibly the one that's least likely to move on. I mean, look, Adam Azim has a tough 12 rounds against Lipinets next weekend. So they ask him to have a couple of weeks off to bounce back into another 7-8 week training camp to go again at the end of April. He'll probably say no. If he knows that the plan is to fight Dalton Smith in the summer, he's not going to want to go one training camp, tough fight, 10 days off, do it again to repeat. He's going to say no to doing it. So seeing Adam Azim, I put a massive asterisk onto being on that Eubank Ben cards, which if it means he's not on that card, so we get Dalton Smith, I've got no complaints.
Yeah, 100%. I'm with you. Diamante will be in Nottingham, I think, Pat. And then I love Joe Martinez. He's a great MC. Does a lot of the UFC when Bruce Buffer's not there as well. I think he's a really good MC, Joe Martinez. Yeah, so I'd imagine that'll be the play there.
As long as Oscar's happy for Golden Boy's MC to be used in a Matchroom show, that'll be a typical Oscar thing. Not letting Joe Martinez do it because he's a spiteful so-and-so.
Oh, yeah. I did see that actually, Daniel. That's an interesting fight, Vidal versus Chev.
Is it
Vidal's
really,
fighting Chev Clark in April, then Vidal's not getting rescheduled for next weekend. I will say that.
No,
that's been rumoured for that. They will not
go
out.
I agree with you, Jay. Stylistically, it's not a great fight, but it's an interesting matchup.
For the division, domestically, yes, it is. But God, it'll bore us to sleep.
It'll be a horrible watch.
It'll be horrible to watch.
Right then, boys. We'll anything you want to add on Andy Cruz or Tito Mercado Pedraza before we move on?
Not for me. I think Pedraza's tough and could be all wrong. But I think he's past it now. I think he's just brought in as a named opponent. He has been for the past 4 or 5 years, really. Decent card. I'm looking forward to it. Not sure if I'll make the whole 10 hours without at least my eyes rolling at some point, but I'll try my best.
We expect it, mate. Look, Andy Cruz, really excited to see him out again. They've got to be looking to push him towards at least the eliminator for a world title this year. I know this is only his 5th fight, but the lick they're moving him out, that's what they've got to do with him. And as you've just said, Jose Pedraza now is name value only. If you can beat Pedraza, it's kind of a rite of passage, isn't it? So good to see that there's still a bit of life in Pedraza. He's saying all of the right things. But let's see what happens. Andy Cruz, what's the fight the winner of?
Yeah, I'd love that, Dan. 100%.
Keyshawn wins and fights Tio. Keyshawn wins and fights Tio.
Yeah, I think that's
that's what Top Rank wants to do as well. Top Rank are as good as trying to tee it up, aren't they?
Yeah.
Papa Tio has got his own agenda, so that may end up not happening.
Yeah,
he might fight his dad. That's probably the way that's going to go. End up fighting his dad.
I'll fight his dad. I'm old enough.
Misfits. Surely Misfits are coming at some point.
Must be, man. Come on.
We'll move into the news then, boys, of what's been happening, which is a lot. This was on my list, Ryan, so I may as well start there. Just released, Keith Thurman is returning. He's fighting on this March 12th.
No one cares. No one cares. No one cared when he was active.
Jarvis.
No one cares now. Keith Thurman, you're not as good as you said you were. You're not as good as you think you were.
What happened to Keith Thurman? Pacquiao stole his soul, didn't he?
Just not as good as his mouth. He talked a great fight. He bigged himself up. A bit like Romero, but Romero's been involved in a fair few decent big fights. Thurman was always injured and then built himself up, and just never performed. Yeah, I'm not interested to see him fighting Brock Jarvis. I think Brock Jarvis will beat him. Shouldn't beat him, but I think he will. Shouldn't, but he will.
Yeah, Brock Jarvis is up to like 160 now. He lost to Liam Parrow at super lightweight not that long ago, and he last fought at middleweight. Tio's been linked with absolutely everyone. It's Matthias. It was
sick of it, him.
Boots at 147, wasn't it? He's literally getting linked with every fighter.
Just before I talk about Keith Thurman, just on this comment, I'm going to get to a point with Tio where we're only going to believe who he's fighting when they're standing in the ring.
About the first bell rings.
Fucking ridiculous now. Going back to Keith Thurman, I mean, the only positive to this fight is he's had about the same layoff between his last fight and this as he was when he was active. So no one's really
4 years.
No one's really realised. In terms of what happened to him, he was probably the ultimate victim of the Al Heyman PBC monopoly of only letting PBC fight PBC, wasn't he? What was perceived as his best years, and yes, he may have lost sooner, were wasted by only being allowed to fight in-house. And then by the time he was allowed out of the in-house and ran into Pacheco, he was kind of already on his way down after injuries and not being active enough. So possibly the biggest victim of the Al Heyman monopoly, Keith Thurman, in that sense, because his best years in a stacked 147 division were wasted because he could only fight who Daddy Heyman allowed him to fight on his little PBC closed network. That's the reality of it.
Yeah, definitely. Won't give Keith Thurman too much more airtime then. Dan spoke about this is also on my agenda. Obviously, we're getting the first ever Ring Magazine card. It's a different banner to Riyadh season, but still obviously a Turkey card. Ryan Garcia headlining against Rolly Romero. You got Devin Haney against Jose Ramirez, and a great fight between Martin McCauley and F.A. Jagba. Dan, I read that Pitbull was the one who turned it down because he's fighting on the Benavidez card and he wanted to focus on that fight. So I don't think it was a Garcia thing, to be fair. I think he was willing to fight Pitbull, but I understand Pitbull's decision as well. Like, he's got a fight coming up next weekend. Why does he want to be negotiating to fight Ryan Garcia? He lost his last fight against Valenzuela, so he needs to be focused and locked in. So yeah, for me, that's no one's. It's not Pitbull or Garcia's fight there, but obviously Turkey's probably pushed it, saying I need to get this out and I need to get this announced. It's rumored to be happening in Times Square in New York City on Friday, the 2nd of March. Not too sure on the logistics of having the fight in the middle of Times Square, but we'll see. It's going the Friday before the Cinco de Mayo as well. Obviously, Canelo will probably have that date on the 3rd of May, so I'm not too sure what's gonna happen with that either. But any thoughts on what's happening with this then, boys?
Go on, mate.
I was just going to say, I mean, if it happens, great. I've got a funny feeling we're not going to get there. It's 4 months away for May. They're talking about May in New York. Ultimately, we're looking at building up for Haney versus Garcia 2, the rematch. If those fights happen, I mean, I've watched Garcia and Rolly came through the amateurs together, didn't they? So they've done a lot of sparring. There's some great footage, some great sparring footage of the pair of them out there. It could be a great fight. I think Garcia's too quick for Rolly, and he'll expose Rolly for what he is. He's a powerful puncher, but he comes in and out in straight lines, leaves his chin wide up in the air. I think Tank showed you just how easy it is to step aside, throw a hook, and he'll walk straight onto it. Pitbull knocked him out, did he as well? I think Pitbull knocked out
Rolly.
Pitbull knocked out Rolly.
And then you've got the other fight, which is Haney fighting Ramirez. I mean, that fight does not for me. I'll watch it, but I'm not excited by it. I think Ramirez is coming off the Barbosa loss. Yeah, he's coming off the Barbosa loss. He's not the most exciting fighter himself. Haney's not that exciting. It'll be pitter-patter for 12 rounds. I expect Haney to win, but it'll be a unanimous 12 round. The fight I'm looking forward to is the co-main event, or the pre-assist as it's called in football now. You touch the ball 10 moves before a goal and you get the pre-assist. Martin McCauley's got himself a fight, but look, Jagba looks good on paper, but I think Martin McCauley will walk through him. I think he'll smash him to pieces. I don't think Jagba's anywhere near McCauley's level.
I'm with you, Jay.
I just think he'll smash him. He looks the part, the Nigerian nightmare. He stole that nickname, by the way. He's lost, and he didn't lose. Who beat him? Come on, Statman. Who beat Jagba? And it's somebody like Ortiz or someone like that.
Have to look.
He's lost, hasn't he? Something like 19-1. But
he has lost, definitely.
Looks the part. Was
Frank Sanchez beat him.
There you go. Was lauded as the second coming. But Frank Sanchez has sort of been half exposed as not being as good as the say.
Caviel dealt with him, didn't he?
So yeah, I'm expecting. But this is a better fight on paper. I'm excited for it because I'm excited when Martin McCauley fights because I believe that he's one of the best heavyweights that there is, irrespective of him being sort of a Brit as such. We've sort of adopted him as our own up there in Scotland. I'm excited for Martin. Because this will be the fight that once he goes through this, the next one has to be a world title shot. I think he potentially could get the winner of Parker and Dubois, maybe if Dubois gets the win and doesn't go for the Usyk rematch. But I just want to see McCauley make a massive statement again, like he did with Anderson. Show some people it wasn't a fluke. He wasn't lucky. Jared hadn't taken his eye off the ball. It was just a fact that he come up against a better man. And I think it's going to be an easy night's work for Mr. McCauley.
A few comments to get through, boys. Sorry, Tio's man. Yeah, he's just signed with Keith Connolly, hasn't he? Which is probably a good move.
That's a positive. That's probably the best thing he could have done.
Yeah, he's trying to get out of his top rank contract, isn't he? Yeah, I think so.
I agree, Pat.
With that one. Dan, unfortunately, I'm with you as well, mate. But none of them want to fight Bacoli, do they? That's the issue we've got. None of them just. He's too high risk, low reward.
Big Bang's done when Cabayel beats him in a few weeks' time as well. So that's the allure of fighting Big Bang's about to go away when he loses. But look, this Times Square supposed cards. The first negative, it means we're going to have 7 months building up towards Garcia and Haney too, and all the trash and crap that comes with that. And I'm not sure if I have the capacity to deal with it. That's the first.
Yeah, all the press conferences are going to be about Garcia.
Ban the dads.
Secondly, I've got to keep the same energy I've had with Conor Benn and now with Dennis McCann. I'm still not sure where I stand with Ryan Garcia. We know he's serving some type of ban, but we still don't know 100% what even the initial ban's supplement was. So I'd like to know that before he gets back in the ring. And look, if you can fight on the same day against different opponents, you can fight each other on that night. That's the reality. I could understand if we were only seeing one of them. Say we were only getting Devin Haney that night. And
why they're not fighting each other?
I'd be pissed off, but I'd buy into the argument. The fact that you're going to get Devin Haney fighting, and then 20 minutes later you're going to get Ryan Garcia.
Yeah, look at AJ Wilder. It could be one of them situations.
Mate, it could be, because I will say this. Jose Ramirez, for all his decline since he lost to Josh Taylor in that unification fight back in 2022, he's a dangerous fighter, and he's got the type of style that if Devin Haney has another off night, like he did in the first Garcia fight, and gets caught again, he could lose again. And if you go from losing to Ryan Garcia to Ramirez, you then trying to recover your career back to any sort of level is done, especially when you've got a mouthpiece like your dad behind you that's absolutely screwing you over left, right, and centre out of deals. This is a much riskier fight for Devin Haney than it is for Ryan Garcia. And you've just summed it up perfectly, mate. We could end up with another AJ Wilder situation where something goes awry and we miss out on the fight we actually really want to see.
You're forgetting one important element of Devin Haney's build up to the fight. He's got Tunde Ajayi in his corner.
Oh, yeah, he has.
Lions in the camp.
Yeah, that was
that's why it's in Times Square.
Big up, Luca. Hope you're well, mate.
Yes, Luca.
Yeah, I think Zhang beats Cabiel. Personally, I know Liam, you just said
easy work.
Cabiel beats Zhang. It's a good close fight. It's definitely not a foregone conclusion in any either way for sure. I actually think that's going to be a cracking fight. It's going to be on at like 4:30 in the afternoon.
I think Zhang will beat the shit out of him. I'm just gutted Zhang's like my age. I wish he were 30 because he's not got long left.
I love his broken English. He can only say a few things. Chinese
bang,
power
bang.
And I bang.
I bang. Zhang.
Yeah, I agree, Dan. I think Zhang beats him disrespectfully. I think he punches his head in. I don't know how you beat someone respectfully, but yeah, I know what you mean. I'm joking.
Oh, his hand speed's outrageous for
smack him and check his hand.
Big guy. It really is. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. It's a good fight. Definitely not ruling out Cabiel, but it's a fantastic.
No, I don't think you can. I don't think you can rule him out, but I just think Zhang is, bigger, hits harder, and is deceptively fast.
Yeah, definitely.
I think Cabiel's been written off in what he's done. On
he has for sure.
It's showed that, and he's riding the momentum. He's riding the crest of the wave, isn't he? I know he's had a bit of a layoff, but then again, Zhang's not fought since Wilder either, so neither of them are going to be the freshest going into this fight. They probably both had longer outside of the ring than they would like, but the fact that it's the Curtain Jerker on a Riyadh season card at 4:30 in the afternoon
is
crazy.
It is madness.
You go from that into Buatsi and Callum Smith, which is another fight that could top a bill. I mean, that's just the start.
Well, February 22nd is going to be absolutely incredible. It is Piccoli in round 2 dancing against a Jagba, kind of tying in with where Jay's at, just going to walk right through him. Let's move forward then from that card in May. We had an announcement of the undercard for Jonas and Price earlier today. Any thoughts on it, boys?
I'll let you go out, Liam.
I think it was while you were away, Sam. I said when me and Jay were doing a live that I was waiting for the undercard announcement because I'd love to see a boxing event at Albert Hall. I'd love to go and watch it, and the tickets aren't badly priced. But unless Caroline Dubois ends up in a unification fight, I'm not going to bother because it's a really disappointing announcement. To big it up, to give it the Dorchester Hotel treatment in London, or the massive press conference announcement, which Jonas and Price is a massive fight, so that deserves it alone. But to say you're about to announce a historic undercard, the only fight on that undercard you give an opponent for is Karis Arsenstall against Raven Chapman, which I think is a fantastic fight, by the way. But, it's like when you big yourself up to someone and, make yourself sound like a Greek god, and then the reality is you look like I do, which is, disappointing for a lot of people involved.
Don't do yourself dirty like that, man.
And you disappoint people, and that's the position. I mean, Ben Shalom had his lovely shiny suit on, and he probably went to get fitted on Savile Row yesterday, and he looked really proud of himself. But you're banding words around like an historic night of boxing for female fighting and all female cards. You've got the main event, which is fantastic. The only other full fight confirmed, like I said, is Arsenstall and Chapman, which is as good a fight as that will be. It's a run below. The fact you haven't got Caroline Dubois an opponent says it's going to be another overmatched opponent for her that she should get through easily. I hope I'm proven wrong on that. All the rumours of Savannah Marshall. Well, she was there doing media for Sky all day, but it doesn't look like she's going to be fighting.
Yeah, it's just strange one, that.
It's unfortunately boxer doing boxer things. They talk a good game and then they look like they're going to under-deliver yet again, which is a shame, especially when you're trying to do something as big as you are at Albert Hall. You're not going to attract a big crowd unless you do something special. I, for one, am less likely, like I say, to get a ticket now than I was before this announcement today.
Just a few comments. Sorry, Jay, then I'll come to you. Mahmoud got beat by Guido Vanello. Frank Sanchez looked to port. Yeah, agree with that, Luke, 100%. Mr. Dermer in the house, good show, lads. Thank you very much for the kind words, sir. Hope you're doing well. Dan Evans has said it's a bad fight of Jones. Price will beat the brakes.
Block him.
Yeah, don't say that around Jay.
Block him.
You're not allowed to say that around Jay. He'll get all up in his feelings.
I don't know what you mean. Block him.
I think he will have hard pull stats. I think he'll have hard. Yeah, I know what you mean, Pat. Definitely.
It's like I got an email from Boxer this afternoon because when I've been to events before, I've ended up on their mailing list, and it was talking about historic cards with a fantastic announcement. I thought, oh, did I miss something on the press conference? Scroll through the email, the same fights. And then at the bottom, secure your tickets now. This is guaranteed to sell out.
For what?
So went back onto the Albert Hall website and thought, oh, maybe I've missed something. Maybe tickets are sold. No, you can still get every single ticket, from the £250 ringside ones to the £30 unrestricted right up in the top, which are standing seats. You can get everything. Plus, if you want to spend £2,500, you can have 5-course meal, drink service, and have your Copenhagen tour if you really want to go for it. You know, the Albert Hall don't mess around, but it's... Look, I mean, I know the cards that Daniel Dubois fought on were heavily stacked in his favour, the 2 fights he'd on there, but you had some sort of undercard to him, didn't you, when he was doing that back in 2017, 2018? This is... I hope Caroline Dubois gets a good opponent. I hope Savannah Marshall wasn't announced today because they just haven't got an opponent over the line yet. I hope this card gets better.
Yeah, well, to be fair, Hawkan's in the house. Hope you're well, Hawkan. Thanks for tuning in. He said, Hennessy, I think Hawkan's got a ticket. Hennessy and Marshall will be announced when their opponents are confirmed. So that kind of makes sense as well.
Fran Hennessy's fighting next Saturday, so they're kind of probably not going to announce her as fighting on this card before she comes.
I like her. I think she's really good. I think she could do something big.
Yeah, again, really something I said before, another fighter I've seen live, and she looks fantastic live. She translates really well in an arena.
Yeah,
and
she's really good. She's
you put Savannah Marshall on that card in a good fight, and you put Fran Hennessy on there, and my interest goes back up. But it needs to be.
Yeah, but other than the champion, I mean, who's Savannah Marshall going to fight? Name somebody she can fight.
Savannah Marshall's fell off the face of the earth, and she was doing MMA for a bit. I think
Savannah Marshall's still a world champion, so she'll be defending a world title. But against who? I don't know.
Yeah.
It feels like she's gone off the radar. I think Luca's gone fishing here, Jay, so I'll throw this one over to you. Or no, I won't actually. We'll move on from that.
I don't know what he means. I don't know that guy.
I turned it off by that point. I was that annoyed at the announcement of the fights. I didn't actually watch the press conference. I just was like,
never heard of him, mate.
Boys, we'll stay on the women's side of boxing for the next one. Looks like we're going to get Michaela Mayer and Sandy Ryan running it back March 29th. I think is the 10th. Dave, we all enjoyed the first fight. I think Vegas is rumored, if I read correctly. But that hopefully we can get that on, because that's good build up for that one. And the first one was a great fight.
Yeah, look, fantastic. Take away the controversy of the paint throwing incident when Sandy was on her way to the arena. We don't need to talk about that again. As a fight, that was fucking outstanding. It was a really, really nip and tuck, good 10-round fight that both women felt like they won at the end. Michaela got her hand raised. She's a world champion. And not everyone agrees with it. But you got to give Sandy Ryan, my initial reaction to him is you got to give Sandy Ryan her props, because, okay, it's not New York again, it's Vegas, but she's willing to go back over to America again after everything that happened to her last time. That says a lot about Sandy Ryan and her attitude. She's happy. I know she trains out in America now, so it's easy for her to do. She's in training camp out there, but she's actually willing to stay in America and be put through it again.
Listen, the fact she took that fight on the night after what went on, 90% of fighters would have pulled out, freaked out over that.
And she put up a great performance as well.
She put up a great performance. It could have gone either way. It was nip and tuck, as Liam said. I thought she edged it, but I was watching it with rose-tinted British bias glasses on, I think. I've watched it back and I've scored it different both times. I've gone 1-1, so, itching to see the rematch. I didn't think they'd make it. I thought Maya was going to be awkward, just being a bitch because of the shit that got said before, the shit that got said after Paintgate and all that. I thought she was just going to avoid it. Whatever they can prove or can't prove, it stank. It was awful. And
it makes a lot of money in the rematch, though, regardless, doesn't it?
It certainly does. I think Sandy should come in a kit covered in red paint.
Oh yeah, you got to play on it.
Lean into it. But I think Sandy Ryan beats her this time. I think she beats her convincingly this time. I think she held back a little bit. I think similar to what we were saying earlier on about Scarf and Walker. Maybe Scarf's gone the distance more. Well, I don't mean that Maya hasn't. What I meant is I think Sandy was anxious anyway because of what had gone on in the journey to the venue, the paint issue. Her head was elsewhere. There was a lot of spite to do with the coaches. She got accused of stealing a coach and all that crap. So there was all this going on. And then I think she held a little bit back, worried about gassing maybe away from home and wanted to have a little bit safe down the stretch. Don't think she'll worry about that this time. I think she'll want to put a rubber stamp on it. And I think potentially we could see Sandy Ryan getting Michaela Mayer out of there.
Oh, love it. Pat and Dan Evans are on with you as well. They're both picking Sandy to beat Mayer this time. You have to.
Who?
What's that?
Pat and who did you say then?
Dan Evans.
Don't know who you mean, mate.
Oh, sorry. I was like, what was he on about?
What? Who?
It's another cracking fight. It could go either way, but I think we said in the comments, like Jay's just said, Sandy's not going to hold anything back this time. She's going to go full throttle. She's not going to start 3 or 4 rounds in when Mayer's already in her rhythm. It could be another cracker. And look, let's hope they build another good card around it, because that.
Oh, you still?
Let's hope they build another good card around it.
I thought you'd been blocked 15 minutes ago. Get out of here.
His carrots are building down. It's all I've ever.
Get out of here.
He's let you off lightly, Dan. Anytime I picked against Jonas, he hasn't spoke to me for a week.
I'm still not speaking to the prick now. We're going through Liam.
He's on
Sam.
He's Fight Talk.
Will you tell Sam?
Who's Sam?
I've only got 2 subscribers left now then, Dan, if you want to subscribe. It's all bands, brother. It's all bands.
Oh, dear.
She'll have an extra 10% with her on March the 29th, Sandy, after all that happened last time, I think, for sure.
I reckon we'll see Eddie over there this time as well.
Eddie will be there.
Nothing wrong with Frank Smith, but he's going to go full representation this time and go over there. Yeah. Admittedly, he wasn't over there because there was the Terry Harper, Rhiannon Dixon fight the next night. It's not like he chose to have a weekend.
Yeah, that's right.
This time, I think he'll make sure.
That's right. Right, last of the unserious bits of news because of some decent stuff coming out. Lawrence Okoli, Luis Ortiz, talk to me.
I've got a Zimmer frame if Ortiz needs it. I can get it to wherever the press conference is.
Listen,
random. That's the most random thing I've ever heard in my life. Like, what?
It's a nonsense. It's a nonsense fight. Lawrence Okoli, right, is just starting at heavyweight, and he's fighting a guy that's, I don't care what age he says he is, right? He's a Cuban, is he?
Yeah.
Right. He's like Yoel Romero. He was born age 35, right?
Yes.
Luis Ortiz is older than me, and I'm 40-ish, right? 40 odd. Luis Ortiz versus Lawrence Okoli is an absolute nonsense of a fight. I'll watch it. We'll probably do a live. We'll do previews, reviews, watch-alongs, but yeah, it does nothing for Lawrence Okoli's profile because Luis Ortiz I don't even think he's ranked in the top 10 of any governing body anymore. Is he, Liam?
In the over 50s category, he's number 1.
In the veterans category.
This at risk of getting ostracised like Dan has, this stinks of a Joe Gallagher special. He's looked at Lawrence Okoli and thought, right, he's got a WBC belt. Who can we con the governing body into letting him fight that we can then sell as, oh my God, he's ready for Usyk or whoever has the belts at that time? It stinks of a Joe Gallagher. I won't call it a master plan because it's not a master plan, but that's what this stinks of, unfortunately. And the negative is it's going to land in the UK as well. So it's going to stink out a primetime UK card. It's not landing on a Saudi undercard. It's going to be a Wembley arena job, I reckon. Jesus.
Lawrence Okoli has all the attributes to be absolutely phenomenal. He's got range. He's got concussive knockout power. He's just terrified of getting clipped. So he holds on for dear life. I've watched him 4 times now on undercards. And every single time, I mentioned it when we first came on, one of the worst fights I've ever seen was a Commonwealth or a British or Commonwealth title defence in Manchester. It was absolutely diabolical. Joe Gallagher hasn't got out of him the style that has got him to where he's got similar to Klitschko, but not as good as Klitschko. Jab and grab. Okoli grabs, then jabs, grabs, and it's just shit to watch. Ortiz is not going to be able to dazzle us with lightning fast hand speed and mesmerising footwork. He didn't have that when he was in his 40s, in his prime. Now that he's in his late 60s, I mean, come on. I mean, it'll barely get sanctioned, but look, it's going to be a shit fight.
In all seriousness, if this fight does get sanctioned by the British Boxing Board of Control, is it one of those where you want to start asking questions? Because Ortiz has only fought once in the last 4 years. I'm fairly confident.
I'll say Lawrence Okoye's ranked number 5 in the WBC at heavyweight. Yes. Why on earth are you taking a fight with Luis Ortiz if that is the case?
Yeah, it's like Ortiz's biggest challenge is going to be climbing up the steps and then getting through the ropes. And I say
that's 45. Allegedly 45. So
plus 15. Plus
15. Big asterisks alongside that.
But yeah, it's just, I question the medical procedures in place, that if they're actually allowing this man to fight and he's got a license, and fair enough. But yeah, it doesn't sit comfortably with me. It's one of those fights, like Jay said, we'll do a watch along, we'll watch it, but I'll be nervously watching it to make sure Ortiz gets out of there okay, if that makes sense, that he's able to get out and do whatever he wants to do as opposed to any damage.
Can I go out on a whim and say that possibly what a VADA testing on this fight?
Don't know what you mean,
Ortiz is going to need.
There you go. Dan said he's actually ranked number 4.
Let alone testosterone, and lead Voltarol just to kick to ring.
Yeah, get him in with Ruiz, someone like that, Luca, like a real fight.
Put him in a fight, man. Put him in a fight.
Jerome, if you're going to go to Ruiz energy, go Jarrell Miller. I know he's the biggest cheesehead that's going to grace the earth.
Even Wilder.
Miller arguably beat Ruiz. I know that was his
definitely beat him.
Miller beat him. So that's the fight to make. I mean,
I'd rather see Lawrence Okoye fight someone like Joe Joyce or Dillian White or Chisora than Ortiz.
They make more sense than
I
Ortiz.
think so. Because what you've also got to bear in mind as well is a lot of people don't even know who Luis Ortiz is. You know, hardcore boxing fans like us know who he is, but no one knows who he is. He's just some Cuban dude. You know, they don't care that he was
6 or 7 years ago. He was up there definitely.
Did he hold the WBC interim at one point?
Yeah, he had some.
Something, didn't he?
Yeah.
But look, to us, we know who he is, and we're dismissing it as a joke fight. To Joe Casual, Joe Schmo on the street, they ain't got a clue who he is. So Lawrence Okoye's not doing any favours to his profile. He's doing nothing. This fight does nothing. Win, lose or draw does absolutely nothing for him. It's a joke. And as Liam said, if it gets sanctioned, we'll do a watch along. But if it gets sanctioned, I agree, Liam, there's possibly questions to be asked. He's 45 years old, allegedly.
Yeah. Arp versus Frere instead of Dubois. Yeah, I like that fight, Pat, definitely. Wardley ranked 7th in that governing body. Exactly.
He wouldn't dare. He wouldn't dare. Okoye's not fighting him.
They're both with Queensbury, so why not run that? And I agree. So somebody doesn't. Stinks of a your call Friday night. That does, Luke. You bang on the money.
There is not a chance that they've taken. This isn't just my local bias towards Fabio Wardley, but there's not a chance they put Okoye in with Wardley. Because if Wardley beats Okoye, then the illusion of Okoye being able to win world titles anyway is gone.
Yeah, he's just signed them both automatically. You lose the value in one of them straight away. So that's why. But Hawkan summed it up well. Yeah, not interested at all. Pat's made a good point here, actually. Come back to a comment from a bit before. So Turkey allegedly in negotiations to buy out PBC. We spoke about this for months, haven't we? But
what's a PBC fan? They've got fans, have they?
Do you know what? There's a lot of PBC. There's a lot of PBC fans I see on X, so there would be a few meltdowns if this happened. But this ties in with I saw Turkey buying a 10% stake in DAZN or something like that as well, is he? Do you think we're closer to the monopoly? I've heard the league is going to be announced soon, starting in America, which I thought was interesting.
It's not fair. It's not fair. It's not right. I work in business, and simple things like, we can't advertise certain products because it's seen as monopolizing the industry. I can't do a lead generation website for products and services that we sell because it's deemed monopolizing. Yet this guy can come in, right? They call him His Excellency. That is a given title. He's a mouthpiece for the Saudi royals that have the money, right? And they're just ploughing oil money into boxing. They're swallowing it up. That and every other sport, every other major sport, darts, snooker, tennis, golf, cricket, all of them, right? They're all getting whitewashed. The problem is boxing will be just taken over by this governing body. It'll be the Ring Magazine titles. They'll get rid of all the belts. They'll all get disbanded, and it'll be all under one organisation, which it's not good, man. It's not good for grassroots boxing. It's just, for me, it stinks. It shouldn't be allowed. There should be restrictions on what you can own, how many you can own, like football. You know, you can't own two clubs that could potentially meet each other in the same competition, even though the guy who owns Forest owns Olympiacos, and technically they couldn't face each other in Europe. But hey ho, yeah, I don't like monopolies in any business model. I just don't think it works. One consortium having a major controlling interest over several organisations that all do the same thing. It's just stinks because they can negotiate behind closed doors, and it'll take away purse bids. And
what you've
like
seen
that.
now, the mentality from the promoters is that they can't compete with Turkey, so they have to join him. You know, we've all seen all of them are working with him now because like they can't compete with anything, so they may as well take a slice of the pie that's on offer. Essentially.
Yeah, and that's exactly how monopolization works, like Jace just explained. You do something so well and leave the rest of the competition so far behind, they have no choice but to either fold and crumble or join.
Or jump on board.
Yeah, so PBC looks like they're joining. Boxer will either join or crumble. That's what's going to end up happening with Boxer. And I mean, Boxer may crumble by virtue of people losing interest in anything they do if they keep having the rotten luck that they're having and producing what they're producing. But it will be good for a couple of years. And then when Saudis get bored and they decide they want to start looking at ultimate frisbee and paddle and all of that jazz and giving that the money it's given boxing, then boxing's screwed. That's the reality. Nothing wrong with it in the short term, but in the medium to long term, the sport will be absolutely screwed. And sports washing is a real issue. And I guess we contribute towards it by giving all the Saudi cards their time, but that's unfortunately the position boxing's in at the moment. You can take the moral high ground argument of, well, just don't cover it if you know it's sports washing. But unfortunately, you've got to cover the fights. If you're a fan of the sport, you remember a time where Oldham Leisure Centre and York Hall were hosting World Championship fights. That's the reality. Where the sport is now in this country far supersedes what Saudi Arabia has done. Saudi Arabia is just doing it on a bigger global scale and allowing everyone to come into the same banner.
The problem is going to be when they get bored. That's when it's going to be a problem, and they just throw everybody to the wayside. And then, there's fighters expecting paydays. They're not going to get anywhere near them. The gap to grassroots is going to be even bigger than it is at the moment. I love the fact that they're making all these great fights. It's good for us in the space that make content and talk about fights. But for people living it, chasing the dreams, their aspirations have changed. They just want to get to Saudi now. So now it's about making as much noise as you can in terms of your profile, not necessarily your fighting. It just changes the whole model of the sport. And it's not good for me. It's not good.
I agree with what
you being more competitive.
Yeah, agree with what you wrote there, Pat. And Dan's right as well. Tank's talked about retirement and he doesn't really want to work with them. So it wouldn't surprise me. He's made a hell of a lot of money. He doesn't need no money. So that wouldn't surprise me at all either.
Is that Tank, the convicted domestic abusers, taking the moral high ground? Yeah.
Yeah, I know that.
First time for everything.
Good one, Javante.
A few more quick ones, boys. Not too much to talk about here, as we've probably done it earlier. But Chamberlain out of the Vidal fight, but it's more about Boxer at this point than Chamberlain. They're having a bit of rotten luck, aren't they?
It's that Wembley Arena card was, as respectfully as this can sound, stinking as it was. They were trying to sell it off of 2 fights, which just about kept boxing hardcore's attention, never mind casuals, if we're being honest. And if Vidal Riley is moving on to fight Chev Clark on the 23rd of April, whenever that Eubank Ben Circus card is, then they're not going to put him in and going on Feb the 1st against the last minute standing. And it's just difficult. They are struggling, Boxer. They had a difficult sell in Sheffield. I mean, the cleaners were in by 10:10, clearing everyone's rubbish up. And that's when Sky want the main event going off. And now they've lost one half of the co-main for this one. But everything Boxer don't do to help themselves, i.e. the Albert Hall announcements we've seen today, you can't help but feel for them in this respect because they just can't seem to catch a run where at least one card goes to plan. Something seems to go wrong every card for them. Not even Eddie or Frank have it. If they get it twice a year, we call them unlucky. What do we call Ben and Boxer at this point when it's happening on every single card?
Crazy, isn't it?
You know, Ben done an interview last week where he said that the Buatsi yard fight was meant to be co-main event at Selhurst Park on the Willem Smith Reactor fight last June. Like, that's when that fight was meant to happen. And now Yard's out in his doldrums and we're getting Buatsi out in Saudi. It just shows that everything that Ben tries to do for one reason or another, nothing seems to go his way. And it must be demoralising for the bloke. He can't seem to fully get the respects off of Turkey and less Turkey, but more Frank and Eddie. And then when he's trying to do his own thing domestically on what is a clear domestic weekend, Matchroom are going on the Friday. Queensbury have got a show the week after. He's now lost what was possibly the most attractive fight of the night in terms of Vidal and Chambers. Certainly the most two well-known fighters on a British.
Probably the most competitive on paper, to be fair. 3 more points to go then, boys, before we wrap up. Jaron Ennis against Stanionis is looking likely to be done for April the 12th in the WBA and IBF welterweight unification. Boots obviously pulled out of the Virgil Ortiz negotiations for February the 22nd in order to pursue unifications. Well, what do we think? If it does get announced, are we happy with it?
Welcome back to the chat, Boots Ennis, if it happens. But again, Boots' attitude the back end of last year and the way, maneuvered himself out of favourable positions, I will believe it when I'm seeing them facing off after a weigh-in on fight week. It's a great fight and it shows that he does actually care about what he does with his career, but he was meant to be fighting Ortiz, wasn't he? And then all of a sudden, no, that's not good enough for me. And he's moved himself away from it. So let's see something official on fight week. Then I'll start getting excited is how I feel about it.
Yeah, definitely. Boxer and behind GBM in terms of UK cars, Lucas says, I think that's a valid point right now. Maybe not Boxer's fault on that, but they seem to be getting a few pullouts. Mr. Dermo said Ben needed Adam Smith to hold his hand. It all went south when Smith left Sky. Well, I guess that ties in with Lucas. I think Smith's doing GBM, isn't he? Now, Adam Smith. I do like Adam Smith, to be fair. I think he was brilliant at Sky. But yeah, look, I feel sorry for Shalom sometimes. I can't help myself. I just think that Eddie and Frank sometimes have that pack mentality against him. He's the young guy. They probably had it themselves when Eddie had it off Frank anyway when he came into the game. So I do get it. It is what it is.
But it's bullying.
Unfortunately,
right-hand man. Where we are, Ben.
Yeah, why Ben got kind of done over is because Eddie and Frank formed an alliance as he was kind of like on his trajectory upwards, whereas they hated each other for the best part of 10 years or whatever it was.
Look, if Ben Shalom can announce and say Savannah Marshall gets added to this Royal Albert Hall card in a decent fight and Caroline Dubois gets given a decent opponent and nothing falls off and we get those 3 fights and we have Arsenal, Chapman and some of the prospects underneath, then that's good news for Ben because it shows he's still in the game. It shows that he can do something. But the poor geezer can't catch a break. He knows that his TV employers in terms of Sky are unhappy with him anyway, and he must just be hoping that at some point his luck changes. But it could already be too late with Sky. They could have already made their minds up that they want to pull away from Boxer. That's the reality. He's been substandard for so long. It's not a new thing with Boxer. They haven't Amir Khan, Kelbrook, and
there's no big fights on the horizon, really.
And both
Lucas bang on the money here, boys.
Are the only good things that they've done, but they're already fighters that have got a reputation. Nothing from his own fighters are pushed through to become pay-per-view stars.
Yeah. Do you know what my theory is on it? And it ties in with what Lucas says here. I think Shalom's putting his biggest and best fighters on Riyadh season cards, because I think he thinks Sky might not renew with him, and if he's in bed with Turkey and DAZN and doing it that way, then he's got a straight segue. If Sky don't want to renew, he can go straight over to DAZN because he's got the relationships there. I think that's what that is.
What would be interesting then is, does he form up with, say, a GBM and they can join him and Izzy become a joined together promotion? Because Boxer on their own are not strong enough to go over to DAZN and compete in the way that Ben probably wants them to, if that makes sense. He would have to join up with GBM because enough of his fighters are getting swallowed up going over to Eddie and Frank to be part of the Saudi shows at the moment. So, yeah, he's in a tricky position. That whole promotion's in a tricky position. Ben started off in an estate agent, renting a space in an estate agent 6 years ago. You may have to go back there for a job next year.
Callum Simpson, Ben Whittaker will be the fight for this year for Boxer. I think that's the fight they're going to make.
Fight each other?
Yeah. Got a funny feeling they're going to make that fight.
Boys, I've got two more points before we wrap up. They're more high profile things, because we haven't done a show for a couple of weeks. Will Tyson Fury remain retired?
Yep.
What do you think? What do you think, mate?
I wouldn't have as much conviction around it as you boys do, to be fair. Turkey's going to offer him a massive bag of cash to fight AJ, isn't he? Let's be honest. And all of a sudden,
I don't think he's interested in that fight anymore, especially not after losing to Usyk. I don't think he sees it for what it is now. It's a non-event. It's to impress casuals. People like us. I'm not interested in that fight. It's got no bearing on anywhere in the division. What does it prove? That you're the best? You're top 5. No,
yeah, look, there's nothing on it really apart from bragging rights now, is there? To be fair, that's the only thing. Yeah, and he has got all the money in the world, hasn't he, Pat? Let's be fair, he's probably earned a couple hundred million in the last few years, Fury. So another 100 mil to fight Joshua is not gonna, it's not as seductive as it would be to other fighters probably. But I don't know. He's retired that many times before. Like, if I had to say, I probably would lean with you guys and say yeah, but. It's Fury.
You never know. He'll be out next week in training camp, won't he?
Yeah, that's it.
He's going to put a video out in the morning making me and Jay look like mugs now. But hey, that's what
I'm back.
I'm back.
It'll take some time out, though. Like they were saying, he's the only high-profile fighter that wasn't at the Ring Magazine Awards last weekend. But it's like, all right, another goal.
Sorry, I just...
But why would Fury be at the Ring Magazine Awards just to watch Usyk scoop every award up? So I don't really.
Interested.
But there's also a time in Tyson Fury when he was interested in fighting where he turned up to an event like that just to have his face all around it and say,
he'd turn up at the opening of an envelope at one stage, mate.
Oh yeah. 100%.
But yeah, look, I think he stays retired. He sees it what it's for. He's probably had Paris in his ear saying to him, come home now, and X, Y, and Z. He's got enough other things going on. I think his Netflix series has been given a second run and stuff like that, so he's got enough to keep him going.
He needs the bloody snip. That's what he does need.
That's a different show, mate. I'm not sure if we can go into that. That's after 9. I think it's safe.
Last talking point of the evening, then, boys. Been a packed show. First show in 2 weeks. Thanks to everyone who's tuned in so far. Chris Eubank Jr., Conor Benn, are we going to get an announcement this week? They've said it's done, but they said it was done about a week ago and we still have nothing. So what's the deal?
I think I'm more interested in seeing the other Ben fight Joe Laws, I think. That'll be more exciting. I mean, they're making all the right noises. They both posted pictures. Eubank signing a contract. Ben sat with a load of Saudis. So if the fight's done, announce it. If not, move on and announce Eubank Jr. versus somebody else and Ben serving out his silent ban until April.
Robert Smith has done something that we've rarely seen him do. He's done an interview with Rob Tebbett and
Told
Boxing
the truth.
News. Well, I wouldn't go that far. Done an interview with them that came out yesterday, and
He was squirming around in his seat when he was getting asked certain questions about Ben, which I love to see because he's never honest and transparent. But when asked about Ben's licensing situation, it was, we haven't had an application from him yet, but we've had conversations with him. So I'm leaning more towards the camp that Ben's license paperwork isn't done yet, so they're not announcing the fight.
Yeah.
That's probably what, legally, with all this drug stuff, there's some sort of green light that the border control are waiting for so they can give him a license, which is
stinks though, man. Robert Smith's way too friendly with individual fighters, right? The British Boxing Border Control shouldn't be having any conversations with any boxers other than, are you applying for your license? Yes. Give us your application form. Why are they having conversations with him about potentially renewing his license? That's not a conversation Robert Smith should be having with him. You're not friends. He's the head of the British Boxing Border Control. He shouldn't be pally with any of them. And that's why we have shit situations like this where Joe Public, us, know absolutely nothing about what went on.
Yeah.
It's
Definitely agree with that.
Wrong, man.
Luke, you could be bang on the money there, my friend.
I said, Jay and me covered it last week, didn't we, mate? And I sort of was in the camp of, I don't care about the main event. I just hope they give us a good card. That's the camp I'm in. We'll cover it, we'll watch it, but my attitude that I've had will stay the same. I don't think Conor Ben should be fighting. I wasn't overly interested in 2022. I'm even less interested now. That's the reality of it. And mate, they're going at Spurs as well. Let's just put this into perspective because Eddie Hearn's come out with some comments this week. Yes, 20,000 tickets for the O2 Arena was the fastest selling event, not just boxing, but event in O2 Arena's history. That is true. But you're going from 20,000 to 66,000.
Yeah.
Good luck.
They're going to need a stat card.
Yeah, I can get to Spurs in 55 minutes on the train if I really wanted to. But I said to Jay, they could offer me a comp ticket and I would still probably say no to it. I have that little interest in being around that event. I'll cover it with you guys. I've got no issue with that. But it stinks, unfortunately. And the fact that it's going to be on a Ring magazine card is, that should hopefully mean it's a good undercard, which we don't always get with stadium fights. That could be the only race.
I did see that. There's talk of it's at 160, but apparently at the last minute, Hearn and Ben have tried to cap Eubank's hydration or something like that, which apparently that wasn't the talk all the way through. Yeah, that's a fair point. Look, it needs a big undercard if you're going to sell out. If
it needs fights like that. Yeah.
So that fight as a co-main event or whatever it may be, most definitely would help with the ticket sales for sure. Matchroom Golden Boy 5v5 in June in America. Is there any legs in that? I heard that Eddie Hearn said that to one of the outlets.
I don't think Golden Boy have got 5 fighters, have they?
I'd watch.
They've got 5 fighters, but
apparently Opataya Zerdo would be the headliner.
Right, okay. So Oscar's just got to find another 4.
Yeah, well, to be fair, Barboza's fighting Catrell, isn't he? Those type of fights could be, if Barboza gets through Catrell, could he fight Hitchens or something like that?
Look,
he's got legs. We'll watch it, definitely.
I think they'll make it because Oscar's absolutely gagging to, as he's put it, wipe Eddie off the face of the earth, which winning a 5v5 wouldn't do that. They'll let Oscar think that for a second, but he's going to have to maybe do some astute signings from around Top Rank and stuff just to make the card semi-competitive, because at every weight class, Eddie's got 2 or 3 fights. He's betted for every 1 Golden Boy fighter at that weight class. That's the thing. He's stables 4 or 5 times. It's not like Queensbury and Matchroom where they're fairly even across every single weight division. There's a serious discrepancy between Matchroom and Golden Boy.
Eddie's dying to make it happen because he knows he's going to win it. That's literally what it is. Catch and count is in the house. Don't go to London, you might get mugged. Don't wear your Rolex, Liam.
From down that way originally, mate. I'm all good, but never would wear a Rolex anyway. It's true. Spurs is wearing a Rolex around Spurs is a mugs game anyway, to be honest.
Love it. Matchroom has better fights than Golden Boy. No clue out. Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Pretty much what I said, but
yeah,
that's the point.
Yeah, right. Well, we'll leave it there for tonight then, boys. Massive thanks to Jay and Liam, as always, for joining the first episode in 2 weeks. Massive thanks to DJ Pat, Catch and Counter, Luca, We had Dan Evans, Hawkan, a good audience tonight, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Mr. Dermo, thank you very much for tuning in, my friend. David Ropedope was there, Ryan Hong, Lloyd Hernandez as well. Thank you very much to everybody who has popped on. Hawkan as well. If I missed you, apologies. I just saw your name there. We'll be back tomorrow for the remainder prediction shows that we didn't cover last night. We covered the main events last night. Friday, of course, Inoue live watch along will be there for that. Saturday, we'll do Dalton versus Ouizza and Pacheco versus Nelson. It's a big week ahead. Thank you very much to everybody, as always. Jay, Liam, thank you, boys, for the great chat.
Cheers,
we'll see everybody tomorrow. Take care, Pat. Thanks very much, my friend.
Cheers,
Have a
Pat.
good evening, everybody.
Take care. Bye-bye.
See you later.